What do you mean he's been taken? Track him down now! Gets kidnapped far too often. Yes?
Oh, Prequel Nuts?
Sanchez!
I knew you remember me. You know, when I left you, I was but a learner. Now I am the master.
Only a master of delusions and bad fan fiction. Now go away, I have more important things on my mind than you.
Jesus, man, you have to make it personal? I was gonna tell you where Jorge is, but...
So you do know. Tell me where he is right now or I'll torture you until you tell me.
Hey, calm down here, man. We're all just cogs in the same machine. Alright, here's where he is.
Turmoil has engulfed the Galactic Republic. The taxation of trade routes to outlying star systems is in dispute. Hoping to resolve the matter with a blockade of deadly battleships, the greedy Trade Federation has stopped all shipping to the small planet of Naboo. While the Congress of the Republic endlessly debates this alarming chain of events, the Supreme Chancellor has secretly dispatched Jedi Knight Qui-Gon Jinn and his apprentice Obi-Wan Kenobi to settle the conflict. While meeting with the Federation, their ship is shot down, and they make their way to the planet of Naboo, where they encounter Jar Jar Binks, an exiled Gungan, and rescue Padme Amidala, elected Queen of Naboo. The Jedi have now made it their mission to bring Amidala to the Senate to help liberate Naboo from the blockade, all the while sinister forces make their presence known. Picture this in your minds. 16 years after Return of the Jedi, you hear that George Lucas is going to make another Star Wars movie. Not just that, but it was going to be a prequel set before the original trilogy focused on the Clone Wars, and show how the Empire came to form. And the trailer that was released looked extremely promising. Sure, there was something off about it, but no one really took notice. Expectations were unrealistically high to the point that no matter what, there was going to be some disappointment, which would have been fine if the movie was good, but then the movie was released and, well, let's just say audiences did not approve. And after seeing it recently, yeah, there are very good reasons why this is so. Before I talk about the problems though, let me just say a few things. Visually speaking, the Phantom Menace looks great. It was one of the first movies to use CGI and it's used pretty well here, creating large environments while also mixing in with some practical effects so that it looks authentic. Even now, 15 years later, the Phantom Menace succeeds on the visual department. However, this is not an excuse for the problems with the movie. The acting is terrible. Part of that is down to the script, which has some of the most awkward and stilted dialogue I've ever heard in my life.
Are you an angel?
What?
An angel. I heard the deep space pilots talk about them. They're the most beautiful creatures in the universe. They live on the moons of Viego, I think.
But most of the actors are just terrible, which is a shame since most of them are talented people who won Oscars before. Natalie Portman is bland as Amidala, Ewan McGregor is dull as Obi-Wan, though he does get better later in the prequels. Ahmed Best is infuriating as Jar Jar Binks. Jake Lloyd is annoyingly chipper as Anakin. Even Samuel L. Jackson as Mace Windu feels lifeless, like some kind of puppet rather than a character. The only good actors in this movie are Liam Neeson as Qui-Gon Jinn, Frank Oz as Yoda, and Ian McDiarmid as Palpatine. They're the only three people who legitimately feel like they're trying, and put actual enthusiasm in their performances. The acting is not the only problem. The plot is incredibly weak. Events don't flow naturally, relying heavily on tremendous stupidity, contrivances, and lots of exposition. Take for instance, the scene in the Republic Senate when Padme is trying to get the Chancellor to help Naboo.
The Congress of Malastare concurs with the Honorable Delegate from the Trade Federation. A commission must be appointed.
Will you defer your motion to allow a commission to explore the validity of your accusations?
She does have evidence from eyewitness accounts from the Jedi, and even a message from one of her people she could have used at the time. But no, she instead gives a vote of no confidence, which everyone agrees without question. Yes, it's supposed to set up Palpatine being in charge as the Chancellor, but the hoops to get there are too stupid and contrived. It's too focused on setting up the universe with little time for fleshing out and properly developing the characters and plot beyond what's initially presented. Speaking of which, Characters themselves are not that good. There's no development to any of them, and not a single one with a proper arc. Aside from Padme being slightly less trustful of the Republic, or Obi-Wan becoming slightly less reckless, no one really changes as a result, staying mostly static. And then there's, of course, Jar Jar Binks. As much as I dislike C-3PO in A New Hope, at least he played more of a sidekick role in the film, staying mostly in the background away from the action, and had some good banter with R2. Here, Jar Jar gets a lot of screen time devoted to his stupid antics, and is a major character in the film. The character himself is a cowardly idiot who does absolutely nothing to help the heroes, and in general tends to get into more trouble than he's worth. But if I had to point out one massive problem with the entire movie, is the structure. Much like Empire Strikes Back, it moves from point A to point B without a strong overarching plot. Unlike Empire, which used the structure to develop the characters, here it's just used to move the characters into position for the next plot point. The scenes on Tatooine and Coruscant in particular take too long to set up the plot, and it's just boring. The whole film is boring. Are there positives in the movie? Well, yeah, I can think of a few. Aside from the visual effects, I like Qui-Gon Jinn. He's a pretty cool character, being wise yet also being a bit of a maverick. Think a calmer version of Jolie Bindo. It's a shame that he died, since he would have made the other prequels more tolerable. Darth Maul is also pretty intimidating, despite having very few lines. The action sequences are pretty good for the most part, though they feel a bit lifeless because there aren't any interesting characters participating in them. I will say that the final fight between Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan versus Darth Maul, while showing up right the hell out of nowhere, is pretty cool. It's well choreographed, the fighting is intense, and each moment is exciting, which is something that the rest of the movie lacks. And while I think the world building took too much time away from our heroes, it is fairly interesting, and you do get an idea of the world our heroes inhabit and the corruption the government is going through even before Palpatine takes over. Still, these positives do not outweigh the negatives. The Phantom Menace is awful. It's dull, lifeless, and boring. But don't take my word for it. Everyone from Red Letter Media to Chris Stuckman have commented on the terribleness of this movie. See you next time as we take a look at Episode 2, Attack of the Clones.
Rise, foul criminal. Criminal? Hey, I'm not the one kidnapping—
Silence! For the crimes you've committed, for the pain and suffering you've caused, we sentence you to death.